My son-in-law borrowed my truck and promised he'd return it that evening a week later. I found it listed online already sold. When I confronted him, he said, "You're too old to drive anyway." My daughter whispered, "Just let it go," that I didn't. What happened next made headlines in our town. I'm 68, retired. Been living in Enid, Oklahoma for over 40 years. I worked as a pipe fitter until my knees and back gave out. Then I retired early, lost my wife to cancer, and 98, never remarried. Never felt right. She was my best friend after she passed. It was just me and my two girls, Rachel and Dana. I raised them the best I could. I cooked, cleaned, went at every parent-teacher meeting, worked double shifts. When money got tight, I did everything I could to give them a good life. Rachel's done well. She married a decent man. Works as a nurse. They've got two kids. They visit almost every Sunday. That's the part of my life that still feels steady. Dana, she's always been different. Smart, but wild. She bounced from one thing to another: jobs, apartments, boyfriends. Some of them I liked, most I didn't. Then she brought Call around. The first time I met him, I didn't like the way he shook my hand, one of those limp to finger grips he wore. Sunglasses, and inside called me B. A guy smelled like some cheap cologne you'd find at a truck stop. Dana said he was in sales, but he never really explained what he sold. He talked a lot, bragged more. I figured it wouldn't last. It did. They moved in together a few months later. I kept my distance, tried not to judge. But then Cole started showing up more, asking for favors, borrowed tools, borrowed my lawnmower, even asked if I go sign on a used car. Once I told him no, flat out. He laughed like I was kidding. I wasn't. I have a 1999 Ford F-250 extended cab long bed diesel, bought brand new the year it came out. It was my work truck, my road trip truck, my project hauler. The thing carried lumber, pulled furniture, helped friends move, even total once. It's not just a truck. It's part of my life. People around here know me for that truck. It still runs smooth because I take care of it. Waxed, tuned, clean. One Sunday, Cole came by while Dana was at work. He asked to borrow it. Said a friend needed help moving a mattress. I said, "You'll bring it back tonight." He looked me in the eyes and said, "Of course, promise." Give me the dumps. Murky always has. I handed him the keys. I should have listened to my God. That was the last time I saw my truck for over a week. Monday came, no truck. Tuesday, no call. I texted Dana. She said Cole needed a few days for some work thing. I never agreed to that. Wednesday, still nothing. By Friday, I was fuming. I called, no answer, left voicemails, nothing. I drove over to their apartment. No truck in sight. Cool wasn't home. Dana said he had a gig in Tulsa. I am. Why he needed my truck for that? She just shrugged. I could see in her eyes that she knew it was wrong. But she didn't want to fight with him. Saturday morning, I woke up early, made coffee, sat down, opened Facebook Marketplace to look for a used generator. In there it was my truck, same bumper din on the left side, same rough spot near the tailgate, same back window. Sticker, pipe fitters do it under pressure. It was listed under Cole's name, $8,500, already marked sold. My heart dropped. I drove over, didn't call, didn't text, just showed up. Cole answered the door in gym shorts and no shirt, holding a protein shake. When he saw me, he gave me that cocky smile. A big guy. "I was gonna call you." I said nothing, just stared at him. He leaned against the door frame. "Yeah, I sold the truck, not a good price for it. You should thank me. That thing was a gas guzzler. You're too old to be driving something like that anyway." That was it. That was the moment everything inside me burned hot. But I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw a punch. I didn't even step inside. Dana came out of the kitchen. She looked tired, pale. "Dad," she said softly, "just let it go." I turned around, didn't say a word, drove off. I don't get mad easy. But when I do, I stay focused. Quiet page. Shit. I started by gathering every scrap of paper I had on that truck, title, registration, photos. I called my buddy Randy, a deputy in Garfield County, told him what happened. He looked up the transfer. Cole forged the title, claimed he inherited it from a deceased relative. Randy said, "This is serious, man. That's felony level fraud." I told him, "Give me time." I called around, found out Cole had sold it to a contractor in Tulsa named Mark. I called Mark directly, told him everything. He was unhappy, said he paid in cash. I asked if he'd be willing to talk to the cops or testify if it came to it. He said yes. Meanwhile, I took all of this Photos, texts, fake listing statement from Mark, and handed it over to a friend of the local paper. Small town like Enid, news travels fast. The story ran with the headline "Veterans Trucks Stolen and Sold by Family Member, Forgery Charges Pending." People cite my phone blew up, neighbors called. Friends from church texted, even the guy at the diner who gave me my meal free that week. Didn't stop there. I filed the police report again, this time with everything attached. Rainey helped push it through. A warrant was issued. Cole was arrested outside his gym. He tried to explain it was a misunderstanding that didn't work. Dana called me crying, said I was ruining his life. I told her no, he did that. I also filed a civil suit. $11,200 cost of the truck, plus legal fees, plus what it cost me to get it back, because yes, I bought it back from work out of my own retirement money. Mark was decent. Said he refund the for $8,500 if I agreed to show the police. He cooperated. I agreed. Getting the truck back, driving it back into my driveway was the first time in days I felt like myself again. But that was just the beginning. After the story hit the paper and Cole got arrested, people started to talk. At first it was just name, years, and folks at the diner. Then it turned into something bigger. Turns out my truck wasn't the only thing Cole had borrowed and never returned. A guy named Dennis used to work with me back in the day, called me up after he saw the article, said Cole bought a used trailer from him 2 months earlier with a check that bounced. Cole ghosted him after that. Then another guy, Mark Blevins, messaged me on Facebook, said Cole rented out his pressure washer and never gave it back when Mark went to ask for it. All told him it broke, and he got rid of it. By the end of the week, there were at least 6 people sharing stories. All small-time stuff, but it added up, and now that he had a fraud charge hanging over him, people weren't scared to come forward. I handed all their info to Randy. He brought it to the DAR about a week after Cole's arrest. Dana came to my house alone. No warning, just showed up at my door around 9 p.m. Here, back, hoodie on ice. Reed, she looked like hell. I need to talk, she said. I stepped aside. She sounded the kitchen table, same spot she used to do her homework when she was 12. She started talking fast like she'd been holding it, and she admitted things were worse than I knew. Cole had drained her savings, opened a credit card in her name without tell. Winner might about a job in Tulsa. He never had one. He just went there to hang out with a buddy and try to flip stuff for cash. She knew he was sketchy, but she thought he'd grow up. She thought love would fix it. It didn't. I didn't say much, just listen, let her speak. Then she said, I think I'm pregnant. My heart stopped. She looked scared, not like Dana, not like the girl who once told off a teacher for giving her a B when she earned in a. This Dana looked hollow. Do you want to keep it? I asked. I don't know, she said. I didn't press. Just nodded. She left that night with no answers. And I stayed up staring at the ceiling, wondering how everything got this far off track. A few days later, I got served. Cole was countersuing me, claimed I defamed his character by leaking the story to the press, said I made up the theft, said I gave him the truck as a gift, and was now taking revenge because I don't like him. He was trying to turn it around, make it seem like I was the one in the wrong. But I was ready. I already had text, phone records, even security footage from the day he picked up the truck. My neighbor across the street has a camera pointed right at my driveway. It caught Cole driving off. Time stamp proved. I didn't know he was planning anything long term. We went to a pretrial hearing. He showed up in a cheap suit again. Still smug. His lawyer started talking about family misunderstandings and gifts without formal documentation when my lawyer pulled out the marketplace listing printed and highlighted with the words sold in cash. Cole's face dropped. Then came the kicker. My lawyer played a voicemail Cole left Dana. When I hadn't heard until then, he said, and I quote, your old man's a sucker, he'll forget about it once I'm making real money. Who the hell needs a truck at his age anyway? That shut down the courtroom. His lawsuit was thrown out the same day. Now here's where it got weird. Some people in town, mostly younger guys who partied with Cole, started saying I would too, for that I ruined his life over just a truck. One of them, some punk names Jace, even tagged my garage with spray paint. The hag with a grudge, I caught him on my camera, called the cops. He got picked up the next morning. But the whole thing was starting to stir people up. There were 2 sides now, people who thought I stood up for myself and people who thought I should have handled it in the family. Dana was caught in the middle. She moved into a friend's place across town, said she need its space. I didn't argue. One night, someone threw a brake from my front window. Wrapped in the brick was a note. Let it go or he gets worse. I installed new locks and put a floodlights, bought a security system the next morning, kept a shotgun by the door, not because I wanted to use it, but because I knew the people around Cole were getting desperate. They didn't think I'd push back, but they forgot I worked 40 years and hard jobs, buried a wife, raised 2 kids alone, and lived through worse than this. Then Dana called me again. Her voice was shaking. Dad, she said, you need to sit down. I was already sitting. I went to the doctor. It's not just a maybe, I'm definitely pregnant. And then she said something that changed everything, but the due date doesn't match. It's not cause. She started crying. Apparently Cole had been cheating. She found messages on his laptop a week earlier. He was messing around with someone else during one of his work trips. That other guy, the one Dana hooked up with someone she barely knew, a one-night mistake. During one of their many fights, she thought it was over now. She was carrying a child alone in the middle of a legal mass and hated her for all of it. I don't know what to do, she said. Neither did I. But I knew what had to be do. On with Cole after Dana told me the baby wasn't Cole's. Everything changed. She moved in with a friend for a while, then asked if she could come stay with me. I told her yes. I cleared out her old bedroom and made it comfortable. Got a small fridge stocked with ginger ale. It was quiet between us for the first few days. Then she started opening up. She was scared, not just of being a single mom, but scared of him. She told me he'd never hit her, but he'd punch holes in the wall, yell, throw things. She'd wake up some nights and he'd be pacing around talking to himself about money or people who owed him. I listened. That's all she needed. Been something strange happened a weekend of her staying with me. I noticed someone had been walking near my back fence, footprints in the grass, cigarette butts near the shed. I've got motion lights, but they hadn't gone off. My cameras only pointed out front. I called Randy. He and asked if Cole was out yet. He said yup, at last weekend. No ankle monitor, probation, and week in jail. Only so Cole was out. And someone had been watching my house. I knew it was only a matter of time before he'd do something dumb. 2 nights later, around 2:30 am, I woke up to the sound of my truck's alarm going off. I jumped out of bed, grabbed the shotgun from behind the door, and flipped on every light outside. The truck was in the driveway, door wide open, glove box ransacked, window smashed, no one inside. But I knew it was him. I called the police. They came and took a report. Nothing major stolen, just the insurance papers, as and a small tool I kept under the seat. But it wasn't about theft, it was a message. Randy confirmed it later. They found a used pen near the truck. Cole's fingerprints were all over it, and Cole was stupid enough to brag on Instagram later that morning with a story post that said still runs like shit anyway. The DA wasn't impressed. They pushed for probation violation. Judge scheduled a hearing, but I wasn't satisfied with just a violation. I wanted the truth to come out, all of it. And I finally had the way to do it. That same week, Dana remembered something. She said Cole used the backup his laptop to an old hard drive they kept in a closet. She thought it might have the fake title files on it, the ones he forged to sell the truck. She dug it out of storage box she still had. I plugged it in. There were dozens of files, photos, messages, some business files. But then I found something I wasn't expecting. A phone. Older, labeled cash deals 2023, inside photos and descriptions of items Cole had listed: online tools, electronics, even a boat motor. None of which he owned. One by one it became clear he'd been flipping other people's stuff for months, borrowing, selling. Why each item had a name next to it, and I recognized some of them. One was Dennis, the guy whose trailer check bounced. Another was Blevins, the pressure washer guy. There were at least 9 more. I printed everything. I took it to the DA. They opened a broader investigation that day, and just when I thought it couldn't go deeper, my lawyer called. He gotten a letter from a collections agency addressed to me, but the account wasn't mine. Cole had used my address. Turns out after he stole the truck, he used my name and address to open another account at a parts store in Tulsa, bought over $2,000 and tools and supplies. Now I had identity theft on top of everything else. The DA's office amended their charges. They added counts of identity theft, criminal impersonation, and fraud across county lights. Cole had officially stepped way over the line. Then came the phone call block number. I almost didn't answer. When I did, it was a woman's voice, quiet but urgent. You don't know me, she said, but I used to date Cole back in Oklahoma City. You need to be careful. He's not just some loud mouth. He's dangerous. I did and say anything. She continued, he talked about you a lot, said you were weak, said you'd pay. I think he's losing it. Then she hung up. I called Randy again, told him everything. He said it increased patrols near my house, but unless Cole broke in or hurt someone, there wasn't much more they could do for now. So I waited. I didn't sleep much after that. But then something flipped. The town started turning against Cole completely. The paper ran another story after the charges were expanded. This one had names, detailed statements from victims, a list of stolen items, and forged sales. One headline reads, "Serial Scammer. Local man faces over a dozen fraud charges." And there was his mugshot right there on the front page. People stopped asking me why I went so far. Instead, they started saying, "Glad someone finally stopped him." The final hearing was approaching, and I was ready to make sure everyone heard the truth. The courthouse was packed. This wasn't just about the truck anymore. The whole town knew with this hearing was now a reckoning, not just for what Cole did to me, but what he did to at least 14 other people. This was the day his scams, lies, threats, and fake charm finally caught up to him. I wore a simple gray shirt, clean jeans, and my work boots, same boots I'd worn the day I retired. Bina came with me, 6 months pregnant now. She looked tired but stronger. I stood beside her in the hallway before we were called in. "You don't have to say anything if you're not ready," I told her. She looked at me. "No, I do." Cole showed up in a suit that looked like it had been borrowed from a thrift store. His face was pale here, messy. He looked smaller somehow, like all the puffed up energy he used to carry around had leaked out of him. His lawyer sat beside him whispering, but Cole wasn't listening. The judge walked in, all guy stern, the kind who didn't play around. We went first. I gave a victim statement, straightforward. I told the court how Cole had stolen my truck, forged my name, and then mocked me for being too old. I handed over the receipts, the security footage, the hard drive data, and the voice recordings. The dull laid out all the other scams one by. "I want each name, each victim." Dana stood up. She told the judge everything, how Cole manipulated her, drained her savings, lied, cheated, how he left her pregnant and ashamed, how he destroyed all trust and people. She broke down crying. Halfway through, the courtroom was silent except for the sound of her sobbing. Cole wouldn't even look at her. Then the DA played one more piece of evidence. It was a voice memo, something Cole had recorded for a friend, sent, overtaxed the audio with scratchy but clear. "The old man's a joke. I took his truck and flipped it for cash. What's he gonna do? Cry about it in the paper? Damn him indeed. Is just as dumb. She'll stay. She always does." That was the nail on the coffin. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Walker," he said to Cole, "you are one of the most arrogant, careless individuals I've seen in my courtroom. Not only did you commit multiple felonies, you did so while insulting the very people who gave you shelter, trust, in a second chance." Then he gave his sentence: 3 years in state prison, 18 months probation, to follow restitution to all victims, totaling over $42,000 in a lifetime ban from opening any credit under another person's name. The courtroom didn't cheer. This wasn't a movie, but I swear you could feel the relief like a wind passing through people. Exhaled, heads nodded. Dana gripped my hand so hard it shook. A week later, the paper ran the final article: "Justice for Enid, comments sentenced after victim speak out." People came by my house, dropped off pies, casseroles, notes. One man gave me an old set of tools. He said he didn't need any more for your garage. He said you earned him. Dana moved in for good. I fixed up her old room, added a crib. A month later, we held a baby shower in the backyard. Small crowd, neighbors, a few close friends. Someone gave her a baby once, that said Grandpa. A co-pilot. I held it in my hands for a long time, then I cried. But one part remained. I remembered what Cole said when he took my truck: "You're too old to drive anyway." So 2 months after the trial, I entered my truck in the local fair's classic diesel showcase. She won first place. I drove her up on stage, shined her chrome, and accepted the ribbon in front of a cheering crowd. Then I walked to the mic and said, "Not bad." For an old man, how the applause was loud, but it wasn't for the truck. It was for the fight, for not staying quiet, for reminding everyone in that town that age doesn't make you weak, and